before when we came to do the book signing.
I was there. You had such a line,
We
and
did.
everyone so many people dressed up in costume.
Yeah.
That was an insane
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
show.
Yeah.
Oh, it was quite fun. So is this the only one?
And then now I'm here. Yeah,
Okay.
but Larry's...
I think I've done, I think it's my fourth.
Okay.
Is it?
Well, I've done, we did that book signing. I did one with another show, and then we did Birmingham last year with Ben. And
Right,
there's-
yeah, yeah.
So how do you kind of find the fans at these kind of events?
Oh, I mean, they're amazing. We've got such a legion, haven't we, of fans that are just so enthusiastic and proper die-hard fans that have gone, a lot of them, through Horrible Histories, Yonderland, all the way through with us, which is so lovely. We're very lucky to
It's
have
very terrifying because you get like fully grown humans coming up and going, "You were my childhood," and I'm like, "Oh, I thought you were my age."
I mean, it's one of those strange things. I'm a reporter, I'm a journalist, and I got into that because I watched the TV show Press Gang
Oh, okay.
by Stephen Moffat when I was about
Yeah.
that age.
Yeah.
And thought, oh, I could do that.
Yeah.
And now, again, I'm the father of teenage daughters, so we've been through from Horrible Histories through to Ghosts, and loving it all the way, Yonderland and Bill and everything. And friends of hers who are studying history, just graduated history at Oxford, and they will tell me that every single person in that class watched Horrible Histories.
Yeah.
So I was wondering, are you aware of the actual impact on society that your work is having, like decades later?
We have had that quite a lot, haven't we? That people have gone to study history on the basis of loving Horrible Histories, which is
I went
incredible.
to do a talk at the Cambridge Union last year, and I sort of got there, and they were like, we're moving it to another room because there's too many people. And it's amazing to see, because in our mind, you still, obviously it was a long time ago that we made it, but you got used to 8-year-olds and their parents coming to see you. But of course, you got all those 8-year-olds are in their early 20s now and are finishing their degrees, and now you get to the point where we get people who are in jobs. There's people. There's been like a curator who's come up to me, history teacher, saying the thing that got us into this was Horrible Histories.
I mean, I'm thinking, and now you're seeing like Ghosts is like kind of going international around the world. Everyone's now getting their own Ghosts kind of thing. So it feels like your footprint, I mean, on Britain was huge, and now it is again going international. I mean, how are you okay with this? Do you cope with this? Is this something you're fine with? Does it occasionally freak you out, or?
It's weird when we get to see like the pilots of the international versions. It's like, I always say, it's like looking at a family photo album and going, those aren't my real parents. Looking at your family and going, they're being played by other people, which is very, very strange. And also like knowing the script so well of our version and seeing, you can clearly see what scene it is, but obviously just in a language that you just don't understand. But no, it's amazing,
It's
really,
a real
that it's
honour
got that sort of footprint, and that people have bought into that as a concept so much and seen. It's nice to see the slant that each country and each sort of society and culture puts on it as well, and how they use it as a way to rehearse their own histories.
Yeah. So what are the surprising things that you've seen coming out? Would you say from other countries, the way the characters they've introduced? Would you say?
I think it's always how they manage to bring it. The American ones are really interesting because obviously they've gone. Their equivalent of Robin is a early Viking settler, and then all the other characters are sort of, and they've got there's sort of 2 or 3 earlier characters, and they've got a Native American, they've got Thor, and then they've got Thorfinn, and then all of the other characters obviously coming from 200 years of history, and it's a lot like that. All of the other territories where there's sort of blank spots in their history, and there's other bits which are so dense, and so finding the allegories for each character type you need for the comedy to work, but pulling from the bits of history that they've got available to them. It's always interesting to see how they sort of translate that.
I was interested because, for want of a better phrase, it seems that Britain does like to have its history to be horrible, and America less so. It was interesting, for example, there were no slave characters in the American version, and I kind of thought, whereas you had some, you had some serfs and the Horrible Histories kind of thing. So that felt like do you think America sees history differently to Britain?
I think it's interesting. It was always, when we were doing Horrible Histories, there was always talk about doing an American version of that, and how they are, that they don't like sort of piercing their own history in the same way as Britons do. Britain, it feels like British audience likes to look back at British history and goes, God, wasn't it ridiculous? And America just treats it with quite a lot of reverence. And so it was always very interesting. I think we were very curious to see whether or not Ghost would work overall. And I think we're glad that it was sort of kept, as a cast, very multicultural. But yeah, there were things we were expecting to see which they went a different way with. And equally, there's some really surprising, in a good way, casting. And I think it was one of those shows as well, once it sort of got into its own stride and they started to make their own stories and scripts which weren't based on stories that we did. It just sort of, it found its own feet, and it's something, it's a really enjoyable watch.
I do remember I had read a nice thing I quite liked, that someone had the theory that all slaves automatically went to heaven when they died. So that's where the not on the ghost thing. And I read that as that's quite a nice way.
That's comforting.
They're doing that.
Yep.
So I quite like that one. But so I mean, think about those kind of like backstories that people do invent. Do you have any of your own backstories for your characters that never actually came out in the show?
We put it into with Robin in the book. We had a line in a really early episode where they're crowding around Alison for something, and Julian and Robin both go to crowd her at the same time, and Julian stops and goes, "Age before beauty," and Robin says, "I'm 23," and we never found another spot for it. So when we did the book, we put his age in one of the books when we show the timeline to say that canon is Robin is 23. It's just slipped a very hard line.
I have to say the audio version of the book especially, that's a big
fun.
loving it in our family as well.
Yeah, that was such fun.
Yeah. And that seems to be quite a way, because it's harder, I guess, to keep. One of the reasons I guess you ended Ghosts, because as actors you kind of age out from the characters, and the characters have to kind of like.
Apart from me.
Well, obviously, we were the exceptions.
That's true. But it does feel like audio might be a way to continually revisit them if you ever wish.
Yeah, that's a good point, actually. Yeah.
Are there any plans in any regard?
There's always things that we're always having discussions about, theoretically, we could always look into doing that. And there's a couple of things that we've been kicking around. But it's partly sort of finding times and our availability, having 6 people is always tricky to juggle. And obviously there are things that, in terms of production and money and all of those things that are out of our hands.
Oh, and they keep on going off and do these big blockbuster movies and things that
I know.
Seems very considerate of them, isn't it?
Yeah. But hopefully we can, at some point, we'll find the time we can all block out the same window of time and do something else together. I think everyone's keen if we can make
absolutely.
Well, I mean, that would be the thing, and certainly the thing I often get asked or certainly talk about in discussion is you don't seem to go back. You don't seem to so much go back on your previous work as you come up with something brand new that then everyone kind of like gets really excited about kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So have you got plans on for something?
Well, there are a couple of things that there's something potentially new. There's something where we might slightly look back. I mean, I say it's also up in the air just because it's dependent. There's so many variables and getting diaries to align. But hopefully there will be a thing or a things. I mean,
I think we love working together. It's the most fun we have. So it won't be at the end of us at all. But we're certainly trying to find something. I
mean, it does certainly seem that certain, let's say, production abilities from the entire essentially seem to have caught up with what, say, Yonderland seem to think more. Yeah. But I don't know. I was thinking, imagine a fully realised huge production version of Yonderland, and I thought, actually, I'm not entirely sure if I'd want that.
No,
there's a certain.
Yeah. We did. Remember when we were first talking about Yonderland, there was so much of it that was going to be location. I remember, it came about from messing around in the woods while we were filming Horrible Histories and going, imagine if we could do a show, a fantasy show, and talking about things like Kroll and Dark Crystal and stuff, where there was quite a lot of and Labyrinth rather, and things with quite a lot of location, and then it ended up being all in studio. But actually became its aesthetic. And I think I remember when we were doing, there was the episode where they were fired, where one of the ninnies was fired into the sun, and trying to find the version of that VFX that didn't look too good. The puppets, you go, that's the aesthetic of this, and you can't put them next to a Hollywood style VFX because they then look like they come from a different world, and so we were constantly going, that's great, can you make it look worse?
Lo-fi, yeah, exactly.
Oh no, that's absolutely stunning. Just something in my head. I was just going to rewind a bit to where I was before because you just took me off on a flights of fantasy there again. So yeah, okay, talking about the sorry about this. I have to go through my head again. Normally you have a few people here, so you can pass the one to the other, and you pass back and forth again. I'll come back to it again in a second. Talk about the history and it's gone. The one thing that one of the shows that I certainly don't think it got the exposure that it really deserved at the time was Bill. And I was a big fan of that when we were our kids. We went to see it a couple of times and things, but that seems to be the one that disappeared, kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And do you have any idea about why that was the one that didn't kind of get that grab?
We know exactly why.
Please tell me, because I'd love to know.
We were very, very lucky in that part of the reason that got made was we had a partner who came with the finance, and part of that was a distribution, a certain amount being given to distribution, and that got out of the distribution game about 11 weeks before the film came out, and so we had to get another distributor who came in and were brilliant and worked with us wonderfully, but it was so late in the day, even moving the release date, which we did. So we had suddenly our distribution and PR budget was cut by it was like 10% of what it was going to be, and we had to move the release date out of the holidays into term time, but we couldn't move the screens that were booked. So they were all during school hours, and so it was just, there were just 2 or 3 factors that happened quite late in the day, which meant we couldn't tell anyone it existed. There just wasn't the money there, despite a lot of willing and a lot of work from a lot of people to try and do that. And so we sort of knew what it would be before it came out, which was disheartening.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's found a new life now because obviously Ghosts has kind of reignited us as a group, and I think, it's always on at Christmas. It's always on. My mum loves it. It's always on at Christmas, and I do think people are discovering it. Well, obviously it's not on the scale that we would have liked it to have been, but it's lovely that it's still circulating, which is amazing. Yeah.
I mean, also as a film, it just looks fantastic.
It's
I mean, it feels like the thing that had. I mean, you talk about the no budget for the kind of promotional, but for the actual budget for the production of it, it looks like one of the highest.
It looks stunning.
No, I mean, Rich who directed it, and we had a tremendous production designer. But yeah, I mean, we were sort of a film that back then, I think our entire production budget was like $4.5 million, which to make a comedy, I remember going in really early meetings about that. And we're saying, well, it's set in Tudor times, and they go, well, that's $5 million, carry on. And it was like, that was your baseline without sort of trying to pay for a cast and a crew and everything else. And so to find a version of that for the budget we had, and then for it to look that good, we were absolutely blown away by what they're able to put on screen.
That's fantastic. I also just remember the thing I was trying to come around to before. There's something in the work that you write and produce that does seem incredibly special in that you're aiming seemingly at the basically broadcasting in the wider sense, the adults and the child audience at the time. So we have Horrible Histories, a kids show that the adults could watch, and you have kind of Ghosts, which certainly initially, I mean, it was put out post-Watershed, as we remember, but it was an adult show that definitely all the kids were staying up for, and before it thankfully moved to a more reasonable time kind of thing. I'd love to know how that decision came about. But can you tell me about how you actually managed to do what is seemingly something that's so rarely done? You're actually appealing to the adult and the child audience kind of simultaneously.
Yeah.
I think we just write what we think is funny, and I think some of our humour is quite childish.
Yeah, we are quite childish people.
We are, aren't we? But yeah, I don't really know the formula. It's something that I guess because we started maybe in Horrible Histories, and so therefore we've had that kind of anarchic kind of sense of humour, and that it's a bit naughty, it's a bit on the edge. And
Matt always said it was like, we are in school, but we are the naughtiest child in the class, and that sort of keeps you quite honest. And also just a very good temperature check with each other. That when you're writing something, if someone puts their hand up and goes, I'm not sure, that feels like that's a bit too close to the line. We always sort of said that if it explains something that maybe a kid shouldn't hear that, then that's when it's gone too far.
Yeah.
But there are a number of things that we do where adults are laughing and kids are going, what?
What was
And
that? And then they'll discover it later. Yeah.
So it's sort of operating on two levels. But with the time slot thing, we always pitched it as just before Watershed, and then a really good slot came up for Series 1 that's sort of taking over from the Alan Partridge.
Was it Alan
slot.
Partridge? Oh,
Alan
yes,
Partridge
it
had
was,
ended, and
you're
so
right.
they knew it worked.
That's right.
A comedy worked in that slot, and so we moved into that. And then I think the channel felt the same. They were like, actually, this should be. I think basically it was so well received. Thankfully, the only criticism was, why is this on at 9:30? And so we moved it to where we always saw it, which was 8:30 BBC One. That's what we pitched.
Yeah.
Thinking about the all the work that you've kind of done together as this almost seems like a perfect team. All kind of like the great kind of comedy teams, they seem to somehow come around by accident.
Yeah.
And it seems to somehow that's definitely how that happened with the kind of Horrible Histories. Like there's so many more. How did the six of you kind of emerge from that? Because there was quite a few people who came and went, and other people joined and stuff. So what was it that joined you together more than the others, I guess?
I don't really know. Like we always
The faithfuls.
when we were coming to the end of Horrible Histories, we didn't want to stop working together, and I think that it came from we used to hang out, like we were always really good friends as well. That it wasn't just we were on a set. And we would say hello on set. We would hang out at lunch times, like the boys would do little skits in their trailers. There was always
It's a very charitable
it was
term.
always going to be. It was always a great friendship, and it had a great chemistry. And I think we just got lucky.
I think we ended up as well. Me, you, Matt, Jim, Ben ended up on sort of just being scheduled a lot together.
Yeah.
We were in a lot. We were the people who were in most.
Yeah.
And then Simon was like this mystical visit from a crazy uncle.
Similar
And
to
then
today.
similar and so he would be in like 2 or 3 weeks. But when he came in, it was like brilliant. And we were like, this mad guy's just turned up. And Ben and Jim knew him already, didn't they?
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
It was sort of. It was never like we like put a wall around it and said it's just the six of us.
No,
But just really
it
naturally.
just naturally felt like that. Yeah.
And in the decades plus what kind of close to, has anything ever actually almost split you? Has anybody almost walked out?
No.
There's no big bus stops or anything like that?
No, we've every now and then there's the odd crossword, and
We're a family,
it's exactly like that,
yeah.
and it tends to be it will be about a script, and it's trying to make the best thing you can, and at the end of the day, it's not. And when I say at the end of the day, I don't mean like a football pundit. I mean literally at 5 o'clock when we go out in the room, it will be should we go and get a there's not even a question of sorry about earlier.
No.
Because everyone we know that it's it's the pressure of trying to make the best thing, but there's never been there genuinely hasn't been a bus stop.
That's sickening.
Yeah, I know. I sort of feel bad about it. I keep trying to fall out with it.
When we were doing Yonderland, we had Stephen Bryan, as you know, and he walked past our green room the one day, and he was like, "Do you guys actually eat lunch together as well?" Like he couldn't believe that we were still like hanging out. We're like, yeah, we do. Yeah, we've just we just hit a lovely mix of us, I think, and there's lots of different personalities within that mix, and I think that's part of why it works. There's more forthright people, there's more relaxed people. It's a good mix, and I think it just works.
Roy sort of said it's 6 very different people with the same sense of humour. I think it sort of boils down to that.
I mean, you mentioned Stephen Fry there. I'd like to see you guys eat lunch. I mean, have you had any other interesting experience with some of the other people that you've grabbed into your world, and how their perspective they've had on you?
I suppose. I mean, there's always. It's joyous when they come in, and particularly where you were like, "Oh my God, it's amazing! We've got this incredible person," and you're just in your mind that dynamic is one way, and then they come in and go, "I love what you do."
Yeah, it's crazy.
Which when Kylie came, we did the comic relief sketch.
Yes,
Kylie Minogue.
Just thinking about that.
Lovely, and the same when Jennifer Saunders came was amazing.
Was
for
just so
Christmas
lovely
special.
to us. Yeah.
Yeah. And so it's sort of it's the chance to work with these incredible people, but also when they come in and go, and you're expecting to be the I love what you do person, and it comes back at you, and you go, really?
Yeah.
This?
I mean, that's a lovely thought. I mean, how are you finding becoming now part of the British comedy establishment? You're there with the Monty Pythons, the Goodies, the young ones. It's like you're now part of that kind of like tradition now.
Oh God.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Do you accept this?
I don't know. I don't
You're
think
heading
we
towards national treasure status. This is the way it's going.
No.
Are you going to? I mean, Shouldn't you? Isn't this about the time you should fall out and have some kind of big strop and be?
I mean,
start believing your own hype.
I want a knighthood, and then we can fall out. I want a knighthood, and I don't want any of you to have a knighthood.
That would be a fallout, I'm sure. Somebody does something
that would be
so
quite
bad.
entertaining, wouldn't it? I could think a couple of people who would be.
So funny.
Yeah. That's it. So we can't fall out until I and only I have got a knighthood.
That'd be a fantastic way. Well, listen, I would like to add, also the work you're doing as a group, your solo projects, because everyone's going off to do their own stuff. What are you most looking forward to for your own work coming up?
I've just finished working on Amandaland, the Motherland spin-off that I'm co-writing with Holly Walsh. And they started filming that this week.
A second series
Ooh,
of that. Lovely.
Which will be great. So, and I'm going in and playing a little part on that as well, a little cameo role. So, that's sort of taken us up to Christmas. And then there's a couple of new things starting on in the new year.
And Martha, are you busy?
I've just written a tour for the in association with the Tower of London River Cruise, which is launching now for half term.
Okay.
So I've written a script it's a tour from Tower of London to Westminster, and actors are delivering the script. So it's,
brilliant.
Yeah. So
and what's that? And how's that going to work? What's the concept behind there?
It's just a historical tour down the Thames. Yeah, but obviously finding new, because there are tours down the Thames, of course. But just. Obviously, in relation to the Tower of London, and it's a 45-minute circular tour, so it's really fun, and that was an amazing thing to have to do, unusual for me. I really enjoyed that. So it's just launched now.
That's fantastic. I'm definitely going to go.
You should.
That's definitely going to be on my list. So thank you so much. So everything else we just have to wait and see.
Yes, it's bubbling.
When might we learn something?
Oh.
Is there a time scale we might like to look for?
Hawkins.
Could we get a Christmas present, for example?
There may be a Christmas present.
Could be a Christmas.
There may be one.
That's fantastic. Thank you so much. That was absolutely lovely. It was really nice to talk to you. I hope you have a great show.
Thank you so much.
I hope I wasn't too babbly there.
No, it was amazing. Thank you so much.